the world centre of racing, and it's round 2 of the ChampCar iRacing series in 2025. Our first look at the new BMW M2 competition racing. It's going to be a 1-hour race as ChampCar iRacing series continues with great prizes and great competition ahead of us this year. The previous round was won by Michael Polisek. He's back to try to continue his winning ways with a whole heap of new drivers and new competition this season. It's Daytona International Speedway. The weather is glorious. The race cars looking beautiful. And we have live coverage for you here on HJBC as the season continues. 12 rounds to this schedule, with a Team Endurance Championship to come in the tail end of the year. David Haynes with Devin Peters, Michael Derby to bring you this live coverage. And Devin, this is a pretty speedy looking car.
Yeah, it's not nearly as gigantic as its older brother, the M4, and it slips through the air around here pretty nicely. And we're seeing kind of the effects of that. It looks like Lincoln Fox with that first qualifying lap might have got himself a little bit of a draft. He's nearly two tenths of a second ahead of Michael Polisek, who's hoping to make it back to back. I'm thinking that these M2s might provide us with some pretty good racing around here.
Yep, so it's the 1-hour race just a few minutes away. Qualifying's going to set the grid. 38 BMW M2s. Interesting little car. Probably the closest thing that BMW offered today to the proportions and spirit of the E30 M3. I quite like it, to be honest, and what it does is just keeps pulling in a straight line. It's not super gripped up, it's not super aero, but what it does on the high banks of Daytona is it starts ripping and it keeps ripping, I suppose, with the turbocharged straight 6 engine going through a racing gearbox.
Yeah, and from all accounts, it's got brakes. Now they function, sorta. And you'll see the guys having to really brake early going into the first turn and all the big braking zones around here. So it should provide plenty of opportunities for a brave driver to get underneath someone else.
So on the infield, the oval segment is, of course, 2.5 miles. The infield on the road course adds about another mile to give us around about a 3.5 mile race course. He's the championship leader, the one they've all got to beat. Michael Polisek with the win last time out at the season opener at Indianapolis on the road course in the Mazda MX-5. ChampCar iRacing series throughout the year rotates through 3 different cars. Going to have the global Mazda MX-5 Cup car, this BMW M2, and the Toyota GR86. This is an onboard at what's partially road car interior, partially race car interior. The buttons all look very race car. The wheel looks very race car, and the dash, or at least the display there, is very race car. Not a touchscreen in sight lets you know it's not a modern road car.
Yeah, and I think only moderately faster than a quick champ car on a track like this. So a good fit for our drivers who are, of course, hoping to turn their racing experience here into some real-world prizes. Hey, Haynes?
That's the goal. One of the multiple pronged things that the ChampCar iRacing series provides is a way to keep your skills sharp between races in the ChampCar Endurance series. It's also a way for sim racers to get involved and get engaged with our ChampCar community. That's Harrison in 15th at the moment. We have live timing going if you've got a particular friend or teammate you're trying to keep an eye on. That's champcar.hjbc.live.
You're burying the lead. The reason everyone is here racing today is because they can win some prizes. Like 2,000 champ bucks to the season-long champion of our sprint car series today. as well as a great number of folks who are going to be eligible for their portion of the Best Bee Here random prize draw just for showing up. If you show up in rounds 1 to 4, rounds 5 to 8, or rounds 9 to 12, you'll get entered into a draw for 250 champ bucks. So plenty of reasons for our drivers to be out, even beyond the wonderful community we got here at ChampCar today.
This is about to be last laps for everyone. Lincoln Fox, Michael Polasek, and Ryan Pucktel as our top 3 still. Get a good view of the Daytona Beach Airport around the backside of the racetrack here. But it's the cars on the racetrack that are of most importance, with the checkered flag waving at the start-finish line now. This will be final laps for anyone who wants to improve. There's 35 drivers with qualifying times at the moment.
Yeah, a great big field for us here today. And even Orlando and Lee, who are waiting for a time to come in, are guys that'll usually make a race start. Looked like the first laps were the quickest ones on the tires here today. A little bit of drop off. My Lincoln Fox set that 56.8 on the first lap of qualifying. Michael Polasek managed a little improvement on his second to 56.9. But it's been pretty static up and down the grid otherwise. Ian Giebler's still out on one, I think. See him coming around.
No
turns.
PB sectors, though, on this lap so far from Ian Giebler. Is what you'd look for if he was going to improve from 12th place. Somehow he snuck in early and taken the number 1 car. Not sure how he's done that. So there, you can see the nose dip as he begins to brake into the bus stop, now known as the Le Mans chicane.
I was wondering if we were going to get a Rodriguez International horseshoe call out later today with all the renaming they've done around here.
It's still the Parabolica at Monza to me, damn it. Ian Giebler practicing that pit entry, an interesting one, because you're at so much speed on the banking, and you're at so much speed there on the racetrack for Bill Woods, you almost overshoot somewhat on the way in, trying to get that change of direction. For Bill Woods, who's currently sitting in 11th. This qualifying session is basically done, and you'll notice almost all of the drivers now getting prepped for a 1-hour race coming up. How many gallons is 32 litres? It's about 8 gallons. They're all going to start with about 8 gallons in the 1-hour race. So some of them will be crunching some numbers about when to make their pit stop and how much more fuel to add. It's a massive fuel cell in these cars for some reason. So it's a really wide pit window for this race coming up. That's qualifying done. We'll have a look at all of our drivers that are going to be taking part in round 2 of ChampCar iRacing Series 2025. So this is it. Lincoln Fox up front. Michael Polasek, championship leader with a win already under his belt, starting on that front row alongside Lincoln Fox. Ryan Pucktel and Jordan Probst, 3rd and 4th. Michael Chase starts 5th with Aaron Brown in 6th. Sean Fritz in 7th. There's Kyle Robertson in 8th. Ryan Carwile 9th. And Jared Collins completes the top 10 of BMWs. Bill Woods and Ian Giebler we had a look at in qualifying. They're 11th and 12th. And then Logan Senhauser is 13th. Sean Roberts is 14th. And then Alex Harrison in 15th. Aaron Reed, 16th. Josh Toothman, 17th. Nick Love, 18th. Carl Guillory is 19th. And Bowie Suin is going to start from 20th. Tim Wire and Andrew Kosick at 21st and 22nd. Kyle Lockrow, Mark Kruger, Dennis Nickel, Patrick Lockery, Colin Lounsbury, Zach Balthazar, Lee Muhlman, and Steve Hermé complete the top 30. Lee Muhlman getting a qualifying time in very late in the session. And then Kevin Collins, Patrick Pursley, John Nicholford, Brian Tidd, Cindy Pickett, Jeffrey Rockwell, Orlando Harrell, and Julian Valadez. The 38 cars and 38 drivers that we have ready for round 2 from Daytona International Speedway, the world center of racing. So iRacing's beautiful Ford Mustang FR500 pace car begins to lead our grid away. Looks like Lincoln Fox may be making a pit lane start. So they're all doing pace car speed on the banking.
Yeah, just packing things up. There's nothing quite like a Daytona start, man. I'm excited.
It's going to be interesting because Michael Polasek will be leading them away. Lincoln Fox looking to be opting for a pit lane start. Same for Orlando Harrell. I wonder how that will all work out. 60 minutes on the clock. Green flag waving. Michael Polasek putting the power down, about 360 horsepower for these BMW M2s, gets them up to speed on the banking of Daytona, and it brings Michael Polasek down into turn 1, leading this race. Jordan Probst making a couple of moves as well from the outside row, who will look to have maybe benefited a little bit off this race start. Cars moving sideways through the S's and heading into the first of the horseshoes in the infield.
Looks like the field's getting away clean.
Everyone except Nick Love, by the looks of things. I don't know exactly what happened to Nick Love back there and how much damage he might have picked up. Parts of this BMW seem very strong, and then the bumpers seem to fall off quite easily, so we'll see how much damage they're able to pick up. High average speeds here at Daytona, of course, with all of the banking. There's a bit of contact back there. Means that the aerodynamic efficiency of the car is pretty important.
Yeah, you always got to worry about your aero at Daytona. And we're going to see a moment here. Is this Lee? Oh, no, this is Colin Lounsbury. Oh, getting tagged and facing the wrong way, but quickly gets off the racing line.
Jordan Probst leads the race, slipstreaming on the banking past Michael Polasek and leading the field through the bus stop for the first time. From qualifying 4th, starting 3rd on the grid. 2 positions gained on this opening laps, and Probst leads us on the banking. It seems like, despite the ability of this car to just keep pulling in a straight line up to some really, really impressive speeds, that there is still a slipstream effect where the cars from about half a second back really close in, keeping the front of this field close for the moment. With Michael Polasek front bumper to Jordan Probst's rear bumper, we have 1 lap completed at the speedway.
Be interesting to see how these cars handle with the bump draft. I've heard a few reports from the drivers that they can be, like you said, soft on the nose, but also a little bit sketchy on the banking when you're given a push. Of course, we know that racing drivers just can't resist giving that push when they have the opportunity sometimes. pretty clean start from the top 10. Jordan's up 3 spots. Aaron Brown in the top 3, third place currently. He's up 3 spots as well. The biggest loser is actually our number 1 qualifier, Lincoln Fox, who started from the pit lane. And despite setting the number 1 time, haven't heard an explanation for that one yet. But opting for a safe release, I think. And we're watching another car come out of the pit lane here for just a moment. There's Andy Cossack coming out of the pit lane in a slightly different color car than usual. But Haynes, you were saying off the top that these things have really big fuel tanks, right? Is there some sort of interesting strategy maybe playing out here?
I don't know. And that's what's got me a little curious. This is our race lead on the banking. Look how close they start to get once they all pass about... what speed's that? About 120 miles an hour? I'm trying to work out the numbers, but these cars reach some really strong speeds on the banking here. They seem to be relatively low drag, and they are 360 horsepower, so a minute 58.3. The new fastest lap of the race for Ryan Pucktel in 4th place, closing in on the leaders. As the more laps we do, the more they seem to close up. Look at this gap from the race leader. It snakes all the way back to about 14th place, Sean Roberts. So the biggest gainers in this leading pack have been Jordan Probst and Aaron Brown. Carl Lockrow from 23rd to 18th in the laps that we've had so far. Your number 1 Canadian, Brian Tidd, sneaking up a couple of positions into 25th as well.
I was going to ask how the lead Australian was doing, Haynes.
I don't know.
He must be just watching from Australia. Now it's a pretty big battle pack we got up front. Like you said, there's a group from about 1st to 14th, and then we got another group from 15th on down to 24th. The second group there being led by Aaron Reed. But it has been a pretty clean start, and we've got the drivers pretty well spread out all the way through the field. It looks like these cars are pretty comfortable just running single file everywhere for the pace. One place that is having an overtake, though, we got Logan Senhauser on the outside of Ian Giebler. They're battling for the back half of the top 10. Giebler's on the inside line, trying to hold off Logan, who got a little bit of a run on the exit. Now they cross over. Oh, and you know what? I think Ian Giebler's caught that slowdown penalty on the exit of the Le Mans chicane. That's how you give it back. The slowdown penalties around here can be a little bit punishing, especially if you get a little corner cut on that last one.
I'm just seeing a couple of drivers have actually picked it up. So Jeffrey Rockwell and Brian Tidd look like they've done similar as well. So going in there with a little bit too much speed, ploughing on through the dirt. Of course, there's a lot less dirt than there used to be these days. They have paved paradise and put up a parking lot. As far as the Daytona chicane is concerned. You also, it's still grass out there, whoever that was. I'm gonna guess. Okay, apparently.
Aaron Reed?
Yeah, Aaron Reed.
Oh, Kyle Lockrow tried it out too. Oh, and we're seeing Aaron Reed here. A little bit of contact is the reason why he found himself out there. But there's been a couple drivers struggling with the dog leg on the infield too. A few sets of tire tracks out in that grass. This car, like you said, not a ton of downforce, lots of speed, and a little bit of brakes. It's a bit of a tricky one to drive for our competitors today.
It's content to have Jordan Probst lead for the moment. Seems to be the story of this top 10. Michael Polasek and Aaron Brown sitting in place for the moment. And then that slowdown penalty that we saw has sort of split the top 10 from the rest. Is Logan Senhauser, Alex Harrison, Sean Roberts, and then, of course, Ian Giebler a little bit further back away from this leading group. Lap times are still pretty quick. In fact, I think we're going to have a new fastest lap of the race. We are. It was Michael Polasek, then it was Ryan Carwile. So they're picking up speed right now as we go. And there's Alex Harrison around the outside of Sean Roberts, both of them behind Logan Senhauser in black and purple. Senhauser runs perhaps a little deep, and Sean Roberts scoots in front of him heading into the infield.
A nicely executed overtake there. Always tough around the outside. And braver still when the guy on the inside is Logan Danger Senhauser, as he registered this year. I didn't see a birth certificate to verify if that was the middle name or not, but that's what he said.
Out on the speedway, banking again with our leaders. Devon, you read the correct units for what speed these cars are doing. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, about 50 kilometers an hour faster than a Miata, or about 160 miles an hour, however you want to put it. But they're flying around out there. It would be a heck of a ride.
Going through the bus stop again, just keeping an eye on if anyone's picking up any slowdown penalties, or if they've all taken their medicine and learned their lesson, like Ian Giebler had to. It seems to be the case through most of the field, particularly this top half. I think 37 cars started the race, in fact.
Yeah. So Jordan Probst, who had a pretty successful race going in the first round. I think he ended up in 9th place overall, so top 10 finish. Looking a little stronger today. Michael Polasek, of course, affiliated with Rockwell Autosports, runs those Porsche Boxsters, and I believe some cars in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge as well. And then Ryan Puckdell and Aaron Brown are newcomers, relatively speaking. Aaron Brown didn't make the first round. Puckdell finished 8th. But Puckdell's got some background in the MX-5, I think. So this car a little bit heavier, but probably feels a little familiar for the style of racing.
I think these are genuinely half the weight of the new BMW M5.
Well, there's no gesture control on these, I believe, other than the gestures you do on the steering wheel. There's
We're about to become grumbling old men, aren't we? I feel like you and I are both headed that way to be like, oh, give me, proper switches and dials.
I had a colleague ask me the other day, so you drive a manual. Why would you ever want to do that? And I took a deep breath, and I said, if you have to ask, I probably can't tell you.
Have you ever considered shaking your fist at clouds? It's very lethargic. It really lets a lot of that out. Got another lap completed here. It's looking like a top 9 all the way from Jordan Probst through to Ryan Carwile. The next group have chopped and changed a little bit. Sean Roberts was leading it. Logan Senhauser's back to the front. Who's going to be in front by the end of this horseshoe? Probably Sean Roberts with the inside line. Alex Harrison also inside. Looks a little slippery out wide there. Looks a little slippery everywhere. That's Bill Woods kicking it sideways with Bowie Suin just behind him. side by side through the kink is not where I would want to be on either side of that. And Logan Sennhauser stays ahead of Alex Harrison.
Yeah, they're still dicing it back there. The lead group seems very content with staying in a line, but this little pack, 10th through 15th, has been dicing for a long time. But you can kind of tell because there's what is that? Nearly 4 seconds between them, more than that, 6 seconds between them and the gap or the pack ahead. Oh, someone's got it wrong at the Le Mans chicane. That was Sean Fritz. Got off the line a little bit. He's at the front of the pack in that camo car.
You can see how much time he's lost to the top 5. Kyle Robertson might think about trying to help him along on the speedway here a little bit. Is it camo or is it cow? I wonder how good it feels to moo when you're a cow. It probably feels so good to moo.
I don't know if the arrogant worms are universally known or if I'm the only one singing "I am cow, hear me moo" in my head. But a very famous song here in Canada.
So it threatens to split the top 9 cars, but I think Fritz is just going to stay with it.
Haynes, I've used my investigative detective skills, and I can tell you that the banner on that BMW M2 says "Bim Moo." I think it's cow.
Yes, 5-year-olds know what cows look like, Devin.
That was a mystery to me.
So recapping again, Jordan Probst leading, Michael Polasek effectively starting from pole position but ceding it and running in second place all so far. Aaron Brown gaining a few positions on the opening lap into third place and now sitting there. Ryan Buckdell sitting in fourth, Michael Chase in fifth. Sean Fritz with a bit of work to do to make sure he stays with that top 5. Just on board with Kyle Robertson for a bit there, I think. And then Jared Collins and Ryan Carwile complete this top 9 group. And then a gap forming pretty quickly between the top 9 and Sean Roberts 10th. And the battle between those behind. Bill Woods has gotten ahead of Logan Sennhauser and Alex Harrison. Alex Harrison's gotten ahead of Logan Sennhauser. Kyle Lockrow and Bowie Suin, I think, know each other, at least somewhat. Suin seems like he might have picked up a slowdown with how fast he's dropping back. It's Mark Kruger ahead of Patrick Lockery and Zach Balthazar and Kyle Guillory. Oh, he's got so many red BMWs in his mirrors.
Yeah, and they're taking every line imaginable into turn 1 by the looks of things. At least 3 different approaches.
Everyone seems to be trying really hard to straighten the exit of corners in this car. You can take a curved braking arc into the corners, but you really want to sort of late apex straighten out the exits by the look of things, which is different to cars with less horsepower and more grip, where you're really just trying to roll the corner, keep your minimum speed and high and your momentum high, whereas this, with far more horsepower, you're really trying to maximize your usage of the horsepower. You won't do it like that, Zach Balthazar or Kyle Guillory, both of them kicking sideways, but in the situations where you're driving a car with heaps of horsepower that you're trying to maximize, straightening the exit and traction zones is really beneficial on the timesheet.
Well, and we did see that it looked like there wasn't a lot of it was a pretty flat tire. Like you get the first lap and it's pretty good, but then it's pretty stable for the rest of the session in our practice. So I wonder Wonder how many of these guys are thinking about the longer term strategy. Got to think that Michael Plasek running in second place is thinking a little bit about that, because he's definitely had the run a few times where he could make a move. This lap included, he's right up on Jordan Probst's bumper, pushing all the way into turn one. But with that in mind, if you're thinking maybe I can do a no tires kind of strategy on the race, trying to straighten those exits and avoid turning too much while you're braking, might save you a little tire temp, a little tire wear. Compared to our first race, though, it's been a very calm affair out here.
Devon.
Oh, I did the thing.
Gosh, we're still getting nasty messages from our Spec 5 World Tour competitors about the things that you say and how early in the race you say them and how unnecessary they are.
Hey, Haynes, there's 40 minutes left. There's plenty of time for them to turn things up. Not to mention a pit stop for most of them. That being said, I wanted to point out, we kind of remarked on our friend Lincoln Fox, who had started from the pit lane in 36th place. He's now up to 24th place. And what I wanted to point out was that while our leaders with draft ran a 158.39 last time by, Lincoln Fox ran a 158.1 last time by. So if he did indeed manage to do something interesting with the fuel strategy there, and is thinking he might make this work, then well, he's on the right pace for it. I'll say that much. Keeping an eye on how that progresses today.
Yeah, Lincoln Fox is 44.5 seconds behind the race leader at the moment. Just ahead of Orlando Herald. Sean Fritz pits from inside the top 9, which has broken apart a gap forming between the top 5 and the rest.
Dennis Nichols, 29th place on the road, has had a little incident as he's getting onto the banking and catches out one other driver. I think that was Tim Wire, who well, we'll see it here. It gets a little wide, does Dennis, and slides it around, and Tim just not quite able to dodge it. Takes that front clip off pretty easily as he comes by. Luckily for Tim, he's driving real slow. And it looks like he's got a meatball flag, actually. Not a ton of damage visible on the car, but he must have just caught the corner. And that's a long lap around to the pit lane for him.
Well, we all know how much expensive repairs you can do to a BMW without it looking like you've done much damage.
True.
Find your favorite parts website and go type in BMW M2 headlight, for example, perhaps. We'll see. He's doing his best to try to stay out of the way of this leading group. They've come back together as a top 8. Sean Fritz pitted from inside of this group, and I think we're going to see quite a few more head for pit lane, particularly from the leading bracket.
Yeah, we did. I counted about 11 cars on the pit lane last time by, so we're really starting to see a lot of cars hitting the lane, getting to the middle of the race. 38 minutes to go, thereabouts, and there's another pack.
Yeah, only Polasek and Pucktel carry on. The rest of our leading group enter pit lane, including what was the race leader, Jordan Probst. He's going to head for his pit crew. They're all heading for their pit crew. If they can see them, if they can find them. That's a jaunty angle.
Yeah, luckily the pit boxes here at Daytona are gigantic, but it's going to be funny to see how he figures that one out. Ryan Carwile, who's pointed the wrong way in the box. Very NASCAR of him.
You a big St. Patrick's Day guy?
Oh yeah. I'd sip a green beverage once in a while.
So, first off the lane, quick stop for Aaron Brown.
Ooh.
Quicker than some of the others.
Who's that driving by, though, Haynes?
It's Lincoln Fox.
It's Lincoln Fox. So, we'll see. We'll see if that stop right off the top has worked for Fox. And if we're going to have to make some sort of Lincoln Fox themed rule at some point.
So, reading about hockey players that have rules named after them, and I think at the end of your playing career, you'd almost rather that than a championship.
Well, everyone's going to remember Sean Avery facing the goalie. So, you take a moment and go Google that if you're not a hockey fan.
I had to Google it after watching Shorzy. Here's Michael Polasek and Ryan Pucktel hitting pit lane.
Yeah, our last two leaders that don't have a stop yet. Looks a little more straightforward for these guys. We got Aaron Brown out. We're watching. Brown currently second as it stands. With about, 5 seconds between him and Lincoln. We're seeing the leaders there on pit lane. Pucktel pulls away early. Ooh, gets a good gap on Polasek. Polasek taking a lot of fuel here.
No, Polasek serving a black flag, presumably for speeding on pit entry.
Oh, and that's a heartbreaker. Because you're hard pressed to make that up anywhere, but especially here. So that's our race winner from round one. Looking at a top 15 finish all of a sudden after that mistake.
Yeah, I think it's a 40-second pit stop hold for that. Polasek's just going now. 18th might blend in about 20th or so. Lincoln Fox leads the race from Ryan Pucktel, Aaron Brown, Jordan Probst at the minute. So a long pit exit here as well. The pit lane speed limit sort of gets extended around the curve. And so that's actually a little further back than I thought for Polasek in 21st. So Ryan Pucktel, Aaron Brown, Jordan Probst are 3 cars all in a line here. 6 seconds behind Lincoln Fox.
Yeah, and the 3 of them working together, you think would be worth a little bit. And they'll be working hard to chase down Fox. Not a ton of traffic, though, for Fox. He's just gone around Cindy Picot. That's the lap traffic in the back of the shot there. And of 37 starters, we still got 33 on the lead lap. It's a long lap around here, but shows how clean the racing's been out there today.
Last lap, Lincoln Fox, 158.6. About to get the comparison eventually from the rest of them once they get up to speed. Their first flying lap. Ryan Carwile is up to speed for sure. That's the new fastest lap of the race for him, back in 9th place, 157.6. So closed in on Sean Fritz and Michael Chase.
Yeah, and Chase will be motivated too. With Polasek falling down the order here, Chase finished 6th in the first round, and that puts him only behind Lincoln Fox and Jared Collins, who had better finishes in the first race. So from the season-long perspective, significant things happening here in the top 7.
Now good second, third, fourth as they come out of the infield and onto the speedway banking. And Pucktel leading them.
And Probst maybe deciding not to push on the short straight there. Not gonna lie, a little disappointed that Aaron Brown is driving a gray car and not a brown car. Missed branding opportunity, if you ask me.
Yeah.
What's your take on a brown car, Haynes?
Has to be manual.
I can get behind that. Because I was going to say, there's a real nice brown car deep in the field, albeit one that's missing a bumper. We've got Andy Kosick, who showed up in an uncharacteristically brown car today. He's currently lapping in 21st place, right behind Michael Polisek after that pit lane violation. But a few cars out on islands. Once you get outside the top 13 or so, and Kosick's going to hit the pit lane and get a new bumper for that brown car.
Yes, he must. Tim Wire still has a meatball flag. Did he? How's he managed that? Andy Kosick's got it all under control.
I think he's pit and maybe not check the fast repair box for Tim Wire there. Or maybe he already used it.
Wire has been twice into pit lane from what I can see here, so maybe had already used it. That says pit stops 1. What does mine say 2?
I'm not sure. Thinking it must clear.
I've just seen the meatball withdrawn, so at least some of the repairs have been affected. Margin very stable between first and second, about 5.5 seconds. Lincoln Fox to Ryan Pucktel.
Yeah, kind of showing this car just it'll run in a pack, but it doesn't seem to gain a ton when it's all running together like that. Probably because you got enough horsepower to get it pretty deep into the straight before it gets aero limited. But Lincoln Fox still showing pace at this phase of the race, even on tires that are going to be at least partially older, too wide into turn 1 there.
So Sean Roberts is on the inside of Alex Harrison. Harrison a little wide, and Logan Senhauser thinks that could be an opportunity. They're all in behind Ian Giebler in his typical Summit Racing garb.
Oh, significant news here. Logan Danger Senhauser is joined in that battle group by Alex Ringo Harrison. These guys got all kinds of names on them.
See, I was always told you're not allowed to decide your own nickname.
I mean, no one knows. Maybe that's the real deal. I always think it's good for a club to have as many nicknames as possible. Just really adds a little bit of spice to life. And I have it on good authority that the middle name might actually be George Harrison. So, it suits, right?
Perhaps. So was it him or Paul McCartney that had wings?
Before my time.
Paul McCartney, apparently. Okay. I always forget whose, solo career was whose. to second, third, and fourth, and they've had Jared Collins catch them as well. So there he is, just in behind this group. Things were a little out of sorts through turn one. They're a little out of sorts for Ryan Pucktel through the first horseshoe. How come iRacing doesn't have all of the flags that make it the international horseshoe?
It's a good question. I was wondering why Jared Collins was running such a wild Taco Bell themed livery. But I suppose that there is, some Baja Blast Freeze inspiration maybe in the color scheme there.
Wide from Pucktel, Jordan Probst goes underneath. Aaron Brown has to decide what he's going to do, which is slot in behind.
And I'm hearing on the radio.
Jordan Probst is trying to rally the troops here. He's looking at a extending gap between himself and Lincoln Fox.
This is the equivalent of radio comms or the hand gestures you see in Spec Miata, where they're just like waving frantically, single file, single file.
I don't know if you've ever played the board game Risk with 3 players, and what happens is whoever looks like they're best placed to win gets ganged up on by the other 2 players until that person's no longer in a winning position, and whichever of the 2 now looks like they're best placed get ganged up on by the other 2, and it just never flipping ends.
Oh, speaking of, we got Collins going around the outside. He must have figured the other 3 were looking a little too collaborative.
Jordan Probst has a bit of clean air here, was pretty pacey, obviously leading this race earlier on.
Yeah, all 4 of them showing some pretty good pace throughout the first or the second stint here.
Michael Polasek also picking up the new fastest lap of the race. He's down in 16th after speeding on pit lane.
Yeah, interestingly, he's managed to do that all by himself. Just no draft needed. It's been kind of interesting to see what kind of pace is possible out of these cars in the draft versus not, because you'd think Lincoln Fox would just be getting tracked down, but the other guys really don't seem to be able to find anything for him. We got Lincoln Fox all alone, Battle Pack from 2nd to 5th, Battle Pack from 6th to 9th, and Battle Pack from 10th to 13th.
It's not just a big Bavarian MX-5, because while there's a toe to be found in the high speed, it's not as gripped up through the corners. So being able to take your own line through the corners, there's a lot more time there. Even if we're seeing 5 miles an hour of advantage in the toe here. So Ryan Pucktel behind Jordan Probst, keeping an eye on their speed difference there, how quickly Pucktel's closing it up.
Yeah. So through the infield, the sector times look pretty similar. But somehow, even without a draft, Lincoln Fox makes the last sector and the first sector work for him faster than the other guys. Some quality driving up front. That's must be said.
So many other battles happening amongst the BMW M2s throughout the field, though. Like Kyle Robertson in front of Ryan Carwile, Michael Chase and Sean Fritz. They dropped back a little bit. Long-ish pit stops for them. Let's put them behind Kyle Robertson and Ryan Carwile. Then Sean Roberts with the next group. So he's now ahead of Ian Giebler. Alex Harrison still ahead of Logan Sennhauser in this group. Bill Woods a little on his lonesome in 14th, just ahead of Kyle Lockrow and a resurgent and charging Michael Polasek.
Doing his best to get onto the end of that top 13 group. He's currently in 16th.
Last lap only driver in the 157s was Michael Polasek.
Yeah, showing lots of pace. Very detail-oriented driver, though. We heard him in the interview last round, and kind of suits a track like this. There's not a ton of corners. Ooh. And got close for a moment. Ooh, and it's getting spicy around Robertson there. That's 6th, 7th, 8th. They're 3 wide going into the International Horseshoe. For just a moment, Sean Fritz trying to make the outside line work. It's not quite gonna. Drive trainer guys, Kyle Robertson, namely in that second in the pack car, holds the inside line and gets the best of it, I'd say.
This settles itself a little bit to the advantage of Ryan Carwile. Michael Chase a little sideways, a tiny bit out of shape. Trying to get 360 horsepower going. I think it might be more than that, actually. This is one of those BMW engines where they lie. It's like, actually, a B58 inline 6 twin turbocharged could make 700. I think the same engine in the Toyota Supra, and they said it's this much horsepower, and then people dynoed it, and it actually makes more at the wheels than the official figure.
Yeah, one of those worst case scenario type games. You're right, though. There's kind of been battles up and down the field. People swapping positions in every big braking zone. I've been keeping an eye on Zach Balthazar and Josh Toothman, who might have the ChampCar all-name battle locked up as they fight for 19th and 20th place. Toothman in the blue and gray car lined up Balthazar into the chicane that time, but didn't go for it under braking. But every time these two get across the start-finish line, last 2 or 3 laps, they've been really dicing it up. So let's see if they put on a show for us this time as they come out of turn number 4. Balthazar, with a few car lengths back to Toothman, is going to be set up nicely. We're watching 35 here. Who's that?
So Polasek's working his way through here, just got ahead of Kyle Lockrow, just to the back of Bill Woods now. And just to the in front of Bill Woods now.
Yeah. And sure enough, camera flips back to Balthazar and Toothman, and Balthazar held off Toothman in turn number 1. But kind of one of the nice things about the ChampCar series, right? You don't have to be the fastest guy all season long to win a prize, and just like in the real ChampCar series, you don't have to win the race to have a good time. Always a battle available all the way up and down the field. Oh, and Balthazar has a moment. And Toothman's going to go by up the inside and take a spot away.
Yeah, big overshoot there at the West Horseshoe.
Extra pit stop from Nick Love by the looks of things. A little surprised to see that. I think it might just be for fuel. But with about 15 laps to go, the top 5 is struggling to find, sorry, 15 minutes ago, top 5 is struggling to find the pace to catch up to Lincoln Fox. Need a little bit of help, maybe.
Jordan Probst leading this group, but not much quicker or noticeably any quicker than earlier on.
Yeah, seeming to just be able to scratch the 158.1, 158.2 kind of numbers consistently, but just doesn't seem to have anything more than that. And Lincoln Fox has shown that he's able to just hold that same kind of pace at the front. So unless those tires start wearing out, I think this strategy might pan out for him. Haynes, I've been dreaming of a one-stop ChampCar race for years. Sorry, of a no-stop ChampCar race for years. Are we finally going to get it? Kinda?
Yes, no one's game to try to push Jordan Probst here by the look of things, so Coxel gets close. He's not interested in it. They all close up on the straight.
Now in ChampCar there is always the spectral lap traffic and stuff like that, so certainly not all over, but Lincoln's been doing a good job of navigating all that so far.
Uh-oh, Michael Polasek has a slowdown penalty.
Oh no.
So he's likely going to need to let Kyle Lockrow and Bill Woods back past. Not quite at full speed heading into turn 1, and he's cleared it, so okay. Managed to clear it.
Yeah, easy to get that slowdown on the exit of the bus stop. And tough to give it back at times. I just watched Probst, Puckdell, Brown, and Collins go onto the banking there with you, and I'm not sure it was clear from the broadcast angle, but they were all kind of stepping out as they got onto the accelerator. So they might be feeling a little bit of tire wear too. And we're almost seeing a separation between the top 2 in that group and the bottom 2 in that group.
The temperature is picking up as well.
Yeah, but
on
a
the
nice
racetrack.
day, 89 Fahrenheit. Nope, 83 Fahrenheit, sorry. But a nice day out. I think that's about 100 Fahrenheit hotter than where I am.
Well, you live on that ice planet from Star Wars.
Yeah. It's actually a couple hours to our south, Hoth. Now, the 4 of them coming up on some lap traffic in the form of Nick Love here. Nick Love wearing the Warsteiner livery. Love, a long time ChampCar competitor. I believe he's been with us since the very first season. Had a few drivers, I think, caught out by the new car, though. Love seeming relatively new to this one. Certainly showing us a lot of pace. I believe even a couple race wins under his belt over the years.
Yeah, him and his guys from Love Racing. There's been a few of them. Not that I can remember them easily.
You know, Lounsbury. Trying to think of who else is on that team.
I've met a couple of them at one point. So this is deeply embarrassing for me.
They'll forgive you, Haynes.
Yeah, they probably will. Okay, a bit happening here for Jordan Probst because they're side by side in front of him. He's got to pick a lane, and it's going to be all the way around the outside of Nick Love.
Got Love and Rockwell on the inside. Kind of letting the lead pack by, kinda. Ooh. And I think Collins was really the loser in that. Yeah, that's cost him a couple seconds on the back of that group.
If he's lucky, he'll get it back next time onto the banking, but yeah, he did get shown a little bit wide through turn one.
I think it was the uncertainty that hurt as much as anything. Just couldn't quite commit. I wasn't sure where Rockwell was going to be. And for those keeping an eye on the timing screen, it's still about 6 seconds between Fox and the rest.
Kyle Lockrow and Bill Woods there. Jordan Probst in second. Aaron Buchtel not as close as he's been at other occasions. Aaron Brown likewise. Jack Collins putting in his best work to try to catch back up to potential podium contention.
Yeah, and with 10 minutes left, we're getting to the phase of the race where folks got to start thinking about, what's that timing going to look like on the last lap? You might only have 2 positions available to you when you come out of turn 3. So how are you going to maximize it? I have noticed that the gap between 2nd through 5th and then the next group 6th through 8th is starting to close a little. There's only about 2 seconds between them. Between the back end of them. So I could see a world where we have a battle for 2nd through 8th as they come to the line.
Maybe.
Getting a replay.
Take a look. Jeffrey Rockwell.
Yeah, Rockwell getting a little offline there. I think spooked the drivers as they were coming through. That was Robertson, Chase, and Carwell. That's our 5th, 6th, 7th. Or 6th, 7th, 8th. Got Alex Harrison on the big screen there. Running in 13th place. Showing off that livery. HJBC livery. I think that might just technically be an HJ Motorsports livery.
It's got the logo on the rear bumper there, either side. So he's between Logan Sennhauser and Ian Giebler. Michael Polasek, 4 seconds behind these guys. With 4 laps to go, and he's going more than a second a lap faster. He is flying along. I still don't count him out of the top 10, to be honest, but his chances of catching Sean Roberts are more difficult than his chances of catching Sennhauser, Harrison, and Giebler in the next 4 laps.
I'll have to make quick work of him, that's for sure.
Sean Roberts has gotten himself just about 2 seconds clear of that battle with Sennhauser, Harrison, and Giebler, where he previously was.
Michael Chase in 6th has taken it too wide into turn number 1 on the outside of Ryan Carwile. Really wide and trying to cut it back and straight line it like you were saying earlier. And he does just a little. Michael Chase gets on the dirt on the inside. And they're going to come out of the corner in the same order they went in. But definitely wasn't a sure thing with the kind of run that Carwile had. And Carwile did win to the line. So maybe a bit of proof of concept there. Or sorry, Chase did get win to the line over Carwile. So proof of concept maybe for the last lap.
Sean Fritz gets closer behind them though. So a couple of packs beginning to form up again right towards the end of this race.
Yeah, lots still to be decided in the top 10, I think.
Also touch and go, is there's 2 more laps or 3 more laps? The leader's doing lap times just underneath 2 minutes. It's coming around Speedway 3 and 4 banking towards the start-finish line. Keeping an eye on the clock. I think this is 2 more, but it's close. So 5:56 on the clock, 5:54. I think we're 2 more. Sorry, 3 more. Not instead of 4.
It's gonna be a close thing. My estimator keeps popping back and forth, and I don't know if Fox stands to gain more by extending the race or not. He's got 6 seconds gap, so we could lift off and give back a little, you know? Harrison and Sennhauser are back at it for the top 10. They're too wide going into 1. Sennhauser staying the inside. They got lap traffic on the outside. Oh, and now it's too wide for 12. That's Giebler trying to find a little bit on Harrison.
Got real floaty and sideways, then picked it up. Michael Polasek cuts through and he's about to be upon them. His last lap, the fastest of anyone. So without that speeding on pit lane, Michael Polasek has got pace in this car that no one else has got.
Oh, yeah.
And it just doesn't look it. It doesn't feel like it because he lost 40 seconds in the pit lane. But he is 40 seconds behind the race lead.
Yeah, dangerous.
I think he'll finish this race less than 40 seconds behind the race leader, the way that he's going as well.
Yeah, he might have been our only hope to have someone track down Fox in that lead pack.
3 minutes 56 as the race leader crosses the start-finish line. It's touch and go whether we get a white flag next time. I guess that's what we're looking for, is next time around, does Lincoln Fox get displayed the white flag or not? And that will let us know. A bit of bump drafting happening here with Kyle Robertson behind Ryan Carwile. Michael Chase getting a double toe off the both of them, and Sean Fritz still a couple of car lengths back, but well and truly within slipstream range. You reckon on the average weekend there'd be a couple of Canadians kicking around Daytona Beach?
Oh, probably. We got 3 of them hanging out together, 24th through 27th. Nicholford, Brian Tidd, and Stephen Remetz.
It's not necessarily a top Australian tourism destination.
Yeah, it's nice to go to a place where the water is water and not snow.
Yeah, where the water's liquid. Here. So Polasek tries to come underneath Ian Giebler. Oh, they didn't even make contact. Giebler just hops that curb wrong.
Yeah.
It's all in the curb.
Yeah, easy to do. Wow, and yeah, gets wrong side and just goes flying. So, 1 to go or 2 to go. Lincoln Fox is coming through 3 and 4, and we'll see at the flag stand this time if he's going to get that flag or not.
Might just, again, lap times of about 1:58, and that's about how much time is on the clock now coming across the stripe.
And that's a white flag in the air, Haynes.
As it should be. Super touch and go, though. Whether it was owed, and I think that's the second, third, fourth begin to kick off a little bit. Ryan Puchtel gets down the inside of Aaron Brown. The two of them nearly make contact. Really close behind Jordan Props, but he's held on to the second place. Ryan Puchtel looks like he gets up and ahead of Aaron Brown.
Yeah, the race started all of a sudden in a lot of these packs. Polisak's going down the inside of danger there. Goes real deep though, gets over-undered on the way back. That's his hope at a top 11.
Yeah, Logan Sennhauser with a bit of racecraft manages to hold on for a moment. Hold back Michael Polisek. Giebler back on the racetrack battling with Kyle Lockrow.
They're 4 wide and someone's off.
And there's Bill Woods giving Ian Giebler a little bit of passenger side door and then spinning out himself through the first horseshoe. There's a few cars with some dramas there. Bill Woods, the most dramatic of them.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Lockrow misjudges, gets a bumper on him, I think.
So we've seen the white flag. Now we're going to see the checkered flag. Lincoln Fox is going to see it first, but who's going to join him on the podium? Jordan Props, Ryan Puchtel are going to battle it out on the final lap here. They're side by side. Lincoln Fox flashes the headlights and takes the race win. But they're really into each other here for second place. Ryan Puchtel's just going to keep his nose in front on the low line on Jordan Probst. Aaron Brown back there in fourth, and then Jared Collins in a lonely fifth.
Kyle Robertson's going to come to the line in sixth after taking a spot from Michael Chase. Michael Chase catching slow down Ryan Carwile, Sean Fritz are going to get to the line before him in ninth place. 10th place is going to go to a lonely Sean Roberts by the looks of things. And we'll see if Michael Polasek is able to use the draft from Patrick Pursley. Here he is. Logan Sennhauser goes to the bottom, but it's not going to be enough. That's 11th and 12th place. And Alex Harrison in 13th decided. Tim Wire is going to cross the line, and then the next position I think on offer is 16th for Ian Giebler. Kyle Lockrow, Bowie Suin are going to hit the line in 16th and 17th. Bill Woods, after that spin in the horseshoe, is going to cross the line in 17th, with Mark Kruger 18th and Jeffrey Rockwell 34th, right behind. Zach Balthazar and Toothman are going to continue. Balthazar locking up 20th place. 21st, Kyle Gilroy and Andy Cossack are going to be coming to the line. Cossack repping the brown cars instead of the minty ones. John Nickelford 24th. We got Orlando Harrell 25th. Looks like, oh, that's Colin Lounsbury 25th actually. Ran out of fuel on the way to line. Brian Tidd 26th is Tidd, and Ermetz is going to be our final driver on the lead lap, 27th.
It's an interesting car, the BMW M2, and its first race of the ChampCar iRacing series ends with a results like this. Lincoln Fox with the win from Ryan Pucktel in a photo finish at Daytona. How often does that happen? Against Jordan Probst. And then Aaron Brown and Jared Collins. Kyle Robertson, Ryan Carwile, Sean Fritz, Michael Chase, and Sean Roberts. Michael Chase, I think, able to clear that slow down penalty just to stay inside of the top 10. Michael Polasek, 11th. Logan Senhauser, Alex Harrison, Ian Giebler, Kyle Lockrow, Bowie Sewin, Bill Woods, Mark Kruger, Josh Toothman just beating out Zach Balthazar as they had their own last lap battle photo finish. Kyle Guillory in 21st from Andy Kosick, John Nicholford, Orlando Harrell, Colin Lounsbury, Brian Tidd, Steve Hermé, the last driver on the lead lap. It's Aaron Reed 1 lap down. Then Patrick Pursley, Nick Love, Patrick Lockery, Cindy Pickett, and Kevin Collins. 2 laps down, Jeffrey Rockwell. 5 laps down, Tim Wire. And I think that would be retirements for Lee Moorman, Dennis Nickel, and it did not start for Julian Valadez.
Making sure you get your 50% threshold matters a lot here when you got prizes on the line. Of course, like we said off the top, $2,000 champ bucks to the season winner and 3 $250 champ buck prizes for those who complete at least half the race distance in rounds 1 to 4, 5 to 8, and 9 to 12.
Our podium are going to come and join us in due time.
Yeah, they got to stretch their legs after going around the banking, I think. In the meantime, I got our 4th place finisher, Aaron Brown. Aaron, looked like a pretty strong little battle there between you, Jordan, and Ryan at the end.
Oh, yeah, that was definitely a fun battle. Tried to stay out there all night. Had a good qualifying. Got lucky. Got us some draft off. I forgot who it was in qualifying, but was able to just kind of leech off the draft all night long. And I think it just kind of stayed there at the end. Tires started to fall off a little bit, and I started to just kind of lose touch there in those final 5-ish laps. And I caught back up, and I had a shot at Ryan right there at the end, but just couldn't hold the outside around him, and just not too great of an exit on the bus stop on the white flag. So just couldn't hold it right there at the very end. But overall, I'm very happy with myself this race, and good P4, and we'll head to the next round.
Quality race for you. I think season debut for you as well.
Oh, no, I raced Indy. I think I got like 15th at Indy, somewhere around there, but definitely a great race. But a great race tonight. Indy was good, just had a little contact with a lap car there last week, and just didn't really have last race, and just didn't really have the overall pace like I did Daytona. I just know Daytona a lot better than Indy, and I think tonight though, very great.
Yeah, it was a good outcome. M2 is a new car for the series. What do you think?
This car is definitely I have some opinions about it. I personally don't like it, but honestly, it was okay tonight with the draft, but it just feels kind of unresponsive compared to most. But definitely took a while to get used to, and I used the whole race tonight to really get used to, and it was definitely a big learning curve compared to the Mazda and the GR86, the other cars we see later this season. So it's definitely a big learning curve, but I think got the hang of it there late and held on to 4th.
Well, quality result, and putting your name up there in the points, you got to think. Anyone you need shout out for tonight's race?
Okay, thank you guys for putting on the broadcast week in, week out. It was fun to go back and watch them. Gotta thank the viewers for tuning in. Also gotta thank all the admins who put on the show and coming out here and race for as much as we can. And we all love to come out here and race and give us a great pathway to real life racing, and definitely fun. And also gotta shout out my teammate Spencer Kimball. He races real life ChampCar, and it got me in here just trying to get me some experience. So I thank all those guys.
Cheers, man.
Thank you.
You find
Do we have
anyone
anyone
else,
else?
Haynes?
I was going to ask you the same. How about third place, Jordan Probst? Well, Jordan led a lot of the way there, and it's a unique car for ChampCar iRacing Series this season, but it sure has some straight line speed on the banking at Daytona.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of a weird car. It gets a lot of oversteer when you get back to the throttle, so you have to really be smooth with the throttle to get those big runs onto the long straights here at Daytona. Really has a lot of top end, but it does make you a bit of a sit and duck if you're out there leading. I know they were definitely saving a lot of gas behind me because making passes out in the oval was super easy if you just floored it. Because it's a good driving car though. It's a lot of fun to race with for sure.
And without opening too many can of worms, your sort of pit strategy around this one, you certainly led a lot in the opening part, and sometimes in these pack races, particularly more the MX-5 than the BMW, not everyone wants to lead every lap of the first half.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I can't remember what car number, they definitely let me go there. I think it was Michael Polasek maybe, right off the jump there, he let me go. And I went out there and started leading, and probably about 1 or 2 laps in, I kind of figured out kind of what was going on. I was playing along a little bit as well, trying to conserve my fuel as much as I could while being out there leading. I knew that was going to be tough, but it did make my fuel strategy a little bit easier for the second half of the race because I knew I could underfuel the car just a little bit more than I would normally, and still make it to the end and be able to drive pretty hard for the most part in that second stint. Tried to run down the leader. Just oh man, the fuel strategy on that was not one that I thought of, that's for sure. So congrats to him for thinking of it, I suppose.
And what about sort of track limits and things? At points, we did see a lot of drivers pick up slowdown penalties. Michael Polasek was obviously massively quick, and he got a penalty speeding on pit entry. I mean, it seems like tidy execution is incredibly important.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, in these kinds of races, they're, an hour's not that long, but it's a long enough race where if you make a mistake early, it's going to be tough to dig out of a hole, especially with no cautions and nothing to really catch you back up, unless you're just super, crazy fast. In these draft dependent cars, it's going to be tough to make up a whole bunch of time. So yeah, definitely execution is part of it. Driving consistent throughout the race is definitely part of it. And here at Daytona, it's so easy to get that corner cut in the bus stop. That's an easy place to get one. And once you lose the draft, I mean, you're kind of out to sea. So yeah, it's a tough one because you can make quite a bit of time in that bus stop, but you can also ruin your race pretty easily as well.
And we've seen you in 2 of the season's 3 cars now, with 2 rounds completed. How's the GR86 going to suit you if we still see you racing in ChampCar iRacing Series?
Well, honestly, I'm not sure because I wasn't 100% sure how this one would suit me going in. I've driven the GR a little bit. I spend most of my time in the GT3. I tend to drive the Corvette quite a bit in IMSA Endurance Series officials. So I spend a lot of time in the GT3 car, and it takes me a minute to get my bearings about me, especially braking points are a little bit different. How you get to the brakes is a lot different. So trying to smooth all those things out will be a little bit of a challenge, but the GRs are fun. I tend to like momentum cars, and GR is definitely one of those. So I think, with enough practice time, probably show up to the practice race again, like I have the other races, if at all possible, and see what I can do.
Right. Well, best of luck, and thanks for stopping by.
Yep. Thanks for the broadcast, guys. Really appreciate it. Shout out to Booksmart Motorsports.
And Devin, you wanted to speak to Michael Polasek.
Yeah, I got Polisek here, qualified right up there. I think second place, but it looked like a little penalty got you down in the middle.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was fuel saving the entire first stint. I thought it was going to be pretty good for the end of the race. Unfortunately, I braked at the kink where I normally would for pit road, and the car decided to not have any brakes at that point. So I got a speeding penalty. That was a 40-second stop and hold, and that basically ended my race. And from that point forward, I was just going to be trying to make up as many places as I could. Fortunately, was able to recover to a P11. I wish I could have done better, but unfortunately, that penalty just sort of ended my race.
Yeah, tough way to go after that strong showing in the first round, but the pace looked really good in the car, I got to say.
Yeah, after the speeding penalty, I was able to just sort of lock in, realizing that I had absolutely nothing to lose, and was just able to go full push pretty much the entire race. Fortunately, I was able to make up quite a few places, and I just wish that if I didn't get that penalty, I probably would have come out right around where Ryan was, maybe a bit in front, maybe a little bit behind, but I was definitely going to be in the hunt to win the race at that point.
Had lots of debates in the off season about the Mustang versus the BMW. What's your take?
I haven't driven the Mustang in a very long time, but I will say that I'm not a fan of this car. It doesn't stop, it doesn't turn, and it doesn't really put the power down very well. But it was an interesting car for this race. It definitely creates a lot of pace differences, which you can use to your advantage.
Well, quality effort out there today. We going to see you in the GR86 next week?
Oh, definitely.
Or in a couple weeks, I guess. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite cars in the service. So we'll see how it drives, and I'm looking forward to racing it there.
Well, looking to see one of our contenders back. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Thank you very much.
Well, you said it, Devin. We're not too far away from going racing again. It's Lincoln Fox, Ryan Puxel, and Jordan Probst complete the podium from Daytona in the BMW. Wilton Park, a little British excursion next round. That's going to be April 2nd with a practice next Wednesday. David Haynes with Devin Peters from Daytona International Speedway for the ChampCar iRacing Series. This is what's to come this season, this year, and we hope you'll join us for it as we say goodbye from Daytona.